You come back and stump everybody with an old truck in Richmond, Virginia.
That's right, Army. That was the same truck I was running last year. It was the heaviest truck at the event, and I ended up with the fastest time of the weekend. So, you know, the new design trucks are neat. I'm trying to build one, but it seems that my old truck is working fine now.
Let's talk about two trucks in particular. Number one, your new truck, and number two, the Bigfoot truck. That seems to be where all the controversy is. First of all, give me an update on your new truck.
Well, the new truck, you know, I did a tour out west. I was gone for like 10 weeks, and I got behind on it. I came home and started back to work on it, and some of the designs and stuff on it is not going to work, and so I'm having to, you know, sort of regroup and start over, and I hope to have it out here on the circuit in August.
What about the Bigfoot truck? Now, this is a truck that the penalty is going to run out real quick. Any points you're going to get, you better get it quick, because they say when he comes back, he's going to come on full boogaloo, and you know what that means.
That's right. I'm sure he'll come back full force, and when I bring my new truck out, it's coming out to beat him.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's Gary Porter, last week's winner. We're going to see how he does today, but right now we're going to check with Chris Chapman to find out what pulling classes we're going to be watching.
Thanks, Army. It's a good thing that these grandstands are covered, as we're under a tornado watch here in Bowling Green, Ohio. And we're expected to be under a tornado watch throughout most of the monster truck show that we're getting ready to see. Now, you may find this ironic, but a couple of weeks ago in Fishersville, Virginia, during a truck and tractor pull, they experienced the same sort of weather. It's the first points pull of the 1990 TNT All-American Pulling Series, and it's coming up here shortly on TuffTrax. Ray Carpenter and the Sundance Kid were the winners of the super modified two-wheel drive class last year, and they're hoping to repeat that performance this year. Carpenter came into Fishersville with, get this, slicks on his back tires. Now, that's virtually unheard of in this class, but something tells me that the weather's probably going to force him to put treads back on. What do you think, Scott?
I don't think there's much doubt about that. He's going to be on a skating rink if he tries to do it with a slick tire, or racing slick, if you will. But who knows, maybe he's got something that'll grab it, jerk, and pull it. I'll bet when we get back there, though, there's a tire change for Carpenter. We're going to come right now and look at qualifying highlights of the action from the Wood County Fairgrounds in Bowling Green. And Army Armstrong, we've got to show the run of Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger. A good run, but a familiar story.
Well, the same old story, like you were saying. He lays down that bonsai shot, and then something goes away. He's trying to find a weak link on the truck, and it's nothing consistent. You know, one time it'll be the rear suspension and the front suspension, the engine. It was a shame, but boy, if you bought a ticket to this one, this is a good qualifying. Look at this, side by side. They're making a race out of it. Anderson pulls a big win, but look at the smoke coming out of the back. That means only one thing. Gravedigger goes in the box.
Driveline problems eliminate him for the night. Excellent qualifying run of 8.06 seconds, but that was the only shot that Dennis Anderson was able to lay down on this date in Bowling Green, Ohio at Wood County Fairgrounds. Watching it again, you'll get Digger on the right side of the screen, Equalizer on the left. A good steady run for the Equalizer and Greg Holbrook. But again, Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger clearly faster, but will not come back. A familiar story. Let's find out exactly what happened to Dennis Anderson and the Gravedigger. Chris Chapman working her way over right now, and I'm sure Dennis is not going to be pleased, but again, he's out of the competition.
Hey, Dennis, what seemed to be the problem out there?
I don't know. I think when I came off and I hit that second pile of cars, I got in the throttle, and I think I might have rung the input shaft in the transmission.
Is this going to be anything you can fix?
No, I won't be able to come back and race tonight. We've got to replace the transmission. We have too many safety shields and stuff to remove from the truck, and it could be a torque converter, too. We don't know until we tear into it. We're going to try, though. We're going to tear it apart. It could be something in the valve body. We don't know yet.
When's this bad looking to end for you?
I don't know. I think this is some fatigue from Richmond. You know, I found a couple other things that, you know, from Richmond when we got back to the shop that was cracked up and broke up, you know, and this is one thing that we must have missed.
So the Gravedigger is out. That means Greg Holbrook and Gary Cook may be the team to beat with the Equalizer. TuffTrax is brought to you by Nintendo, makers of the Nintendo Entertainment System and the world's largest and most exciting library of great games. Nintendo. Now you're playing with power. Back at Bowling Green, Ohio on TuffTrax, ready for the first round of monster truck competition. And with Gravedigger out because of breakage, King Kong has the fastest remaining time. He'll meet King Krunch, then Nightlife takes on Clydesdale. We'll see Carolina Crusher battling another Chevy, the Wild Hair and Marvin Smith. Bigfoot number 4 with John Piant will be out to take on Mopar Magic. Then no problem against the Buffalo Tremor. Equalizer's first round opponent will be Playin for keeps. And we talked about King Krunch. Army Armstrong, you talk about pulling out an antique. This truck has been around a long, long time. It's out of the stable. It now produces Awesome Kong, and the Awesome Kong driver, Steve Cain, is driving King Kong.
Well, King Kong was one of the original monster trucks at one time ran a rear engine aircraft combination, gone to the front engine setup, but look at Steve Cain. This is the truck he learned to drive in. He's very comfortable with it. He will attack with this truck. We might see a major upset before the night's over. It's a new driver, a new philosophy, and it works.
I'm not sure that's not a major upset. The Auto Value King Krunch should have been the better truck, the state-of-the-art computerized Auto Value Special, but Scott Stevens did not have enough for King Kong and Steve Cain.
No, when these two Texans squared off the Ford, literally handled him on the far side, he completely cleared every car. Steve Cain is comfortable in this truck. That's all I can say. Really, on paper, it should not run, but it does.
King Kong coming at you, one of the originals in monster truck racing, and he's looking good here in Bowling Green, Ohio. Our next matchup in the first round is going to send Clydesdale out against the Nightlife Chevrolet, and we talked about the bad luck of Dennis Anderson and the Gravedigger, but I'll tell you, here's a guy who really has been on a run of bad luck, and it wasn't really that way until Dallas. Here in Dallas, Texas, in a three-way race, at the end of the run, you'll see Wild Hair put Clydesdale on his roof, and then he had more problems after that. Army, this is just one that scared everybody.
Yeah, when he went on his head at Dallas, it really spooked everybody, but the bad luck is not a result of himself. Stuff is just breaking on the truck. Somebody else gets into him. Look at this, Louisville. The right rear suspension gives away.
Chris Chapman got a chance to talk to Bennett Clark about his run of bad luck.
It seems like the curse of Dallas is continuing to follow you.
Yeah, it seems to be that. After Dallas, we came back. We put a alcohol-injected motor in here. You know, we had a little trouble in Louisville, Kentucky. Come to here, and the motor's gone sour on us. We're just trying to get it straightened out.
Bennett Clark in the Clydesdale Chevrolet will pair off with Dave Wysorik's beautiful new Nightlife Chevrolet.
Scotty's talking about the motor going away on what it is. They don't know how to jet the engine. They're trying to get it figured out. Wysorik, meanwhile, is not really making that much forward power. He'll go to the next round, but Bennett Clark has that old black cloud still hanging over his head.
Dave Wysorik out of Grand Island, Nebraska, getting the victory, and Clydesdale just not moving whatsoever with the earlier mentioned engine problem.
You know, Wysorik's kind of interesting. We watched the replay come back. We've talked many times about him being a privateer. He has a very few sponsors that work with him and help him on the vehicle. He does everything himself. Builds it, paints it, drives it, takes it up and down the highway. What a man. Hey, Scott, who's coming out next?
We heard from him earlier. Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher, his first-round opponent, Marvin Smith. Starvin Marvin in the Wild Hair Chevrolet out of Arnold, Missouri. Of course, Marvin, formerly the driver of the Stomper truck, rebuilt his truck for 1990, went to what he called the MTV-style paint job there. He said it's a brand new Marvin for 90, but struggling to find the right combination, though.
What you're going to be looking at is his tried and true truck, the Carolina Crusher, close to us, and a new combination on the far side, tried and true, comes around in this round. Porter moves into the next round of eliminations, and he made it really look easy, Scott.
He sure did, and you know, last week on TuffTrax, ran extremely consistent and extremely well. It was enough to get him the victory. And again, that truck that he calls his old truck, the one he's trying to replace, continues to serve him well.
You know, this truck is actually sold. There is a date that he will no longer have this truck in the near future.
Army's going to find out about it right now. Gary Porter's working his way over.
Awfully quick track out there tonight, Gary.
It is. The track's very tight, you know, very fast. The ramps, you know, are just perfect for speed. And the only problem I think I'm going to have tonight is maybe running out of a gear. You know, I chose the wrong gear selection in my transfer case for this course, and I'm not getting the speed out of it I would like to.
But everybody seems to be real happy. I mean, you guys seem to feel like, hey, we're back finally on a real good, safe course, and you're putting on a tremendous show.
It is. You know, the track is perfect. You know, the weather's perfect. It's cooled off, and everything's going good. If I just had a little bit taller gear in my truck, I would be, you know, really satisfied.
Crusher gets the win over Wild Hair. Chris Chapman is with Wild Hair's Marvin Smith.
Marvin, you had a pretty good run out there, but the motor didn't seem like it was firing just right. Is that true?
No, the motor's fine. What happened, my rear steering was broke loose. I was driving my rear steering running back and forth on me.
So maybe it was you were having to rev it up a little bit harder than you wanted to?
Yeah, exactly, because I tried to come off the first set of cars there, and I seen him coming. I tried to stay ahead of him, but I was running sideways. hit the last set of cars, hope to stay up on its wheels, and it did.
We'll be right back with more first round racing. But first, let's look at the 1990 World Championship points before today's event. TuffTrax. Bigfoot. This is Bigfoot number 4. John Piant of St. Louis, Missouri will battle Mopar Magic and Gary Wiggins from Williamston, North Carolina. We have often discussed the current Bigfoot controversy. The revolutionary Bigfoot 8 will be back in TNT racing in a few short weeks. But right now, John Piant, Bigfoot 4, just trying to get Bob Chandler's stamp. Plenty of points in the meantime, and he'll get victorious points here over Mopar. We're going to look at a replay, Army, in the Bigfoot truck. Again, this truck here, as we saw in Louisville, still has a lot in it, and this is a good running truck.
Yeah, 4 is a proven truck. It's a leaf spring type suspension. They know it's going to work. So, like you say, they're just adding on to the points total, waiting for the Bigfoot number 8 to come back with Andy Brass shoeing it.
I think the theory right now, Army, is let's just see if we can stay close to Equalizer, knowing that, you know, Holbrook's probably going to do a little better right now until the 8 truck is back on the circuit.
Hit the nail on the head. What they're going to try to do is stay close with number 4. When they come back with number 8, they're going to slam the door on this points chase.
No problem races Buffalo Tremor, who had problems in qualifying because of fuel mixture. He has switched from alcohol to gasoline in order to meet TNT's newest rules. And Chris asked Johnny K about that.
Last 2 weeks ago, they shut us down because they said we were running alcohol with too much cubic inch. So we got to change it around and try to run it on gas. And we just got to work the bugs out of it now and try to get it to run.
So it's just a fuel adjustment?
I hope that's what it is. We're going to try and see what happens in the first round.
Scott, I tell you what, it's a whole lot more than just a fuel adjustment. Alcohol and gasoline engines are completely different critters. John Moore comes out. He's not going to have any problems going to the next round. But Johnny K will have a long summer until he gets that fuel problem squared away.
Again, the engine size for alcohol is too big under TNT's new rules, but you can run a little bigger in terms of cubic inches if you're running a gasoline engine.
Exactly.
Here, let's watch the replay for no problem. And we talked about the Tremor. What did you think of John Moore's run?
John Moore made a good run. You know, he's been around. He's used to this truck. What we're seeing tonight are these guys that are used to the, you know, like an old pair of shoes. They're comfortable in them, and they keep going to the next round. Hey, new paint job. Check this rascal out. Looks like Jesse Birgy's coming out.
That's Playin for Keeps. And again, I'm sure most people looking at the screen who have been following TuffTrax said, who in the heck is that? It's the new paint scheme for Jesse Birgy's Playin for Keeps. But he has got to take on the bad dog, the Equalizer in Holbrook. Jesse gave him a good run over that first set, but Equalizer easily puts him away.
The coil suspension on the Equalizer really working good on a far track. Now, there is a lane difference. I look for that blue truck to stay in a far lane all night long, Scott.
We're going to look at it again. The Equalizer truck out of Tennessee, the defending world champion and current world championship points leader, Greg Holbrook, with a good run. And our first look at the new paint scheme for Jesse Birgy out of Wyoming, Michigan, in the Playin for Keeps truck.
Holbrook hit on 1 car to go. Remember, Cain cleared them all. That could come back and pay dividends later because they were both running out the same lane, Scott Douglas.
Indeed, Equalizer may be the man to beat. Holbrook is looking awfully good. More monster truck races a little later. But coming up next, the Sundance Kid and Ray Carpenter will begin defense of the national championship on the TNT All-American Pulling Series. Back to TuffTrax. I'm Scott Douglas with Army Armstrong and Chris Chapman. Going to go away from the monsters for a moment with action on the TNT All-American Pulling Series in Fishersville, Virginia. It's the first points pull of 1990 as Ray Carpenter begins defense of the national championship he won a year ago here at the Augusta Expo Land. Chris Chapman talked with Ray a little bit earlier about the competition for 1990 as he tries to defend that title.
Who do you believe you're going to really need to pay attention to that might creep up and take that title away from you?
Well, Chris, ever since last year, even at the banquet, there was a few guys that didn't even show up for the banquet. They was home working on their trucks. And with the
Red Man TNT paying all the money again. You know, everybody's out in their closets digging up old clothes for this year, new clothes for this year, I should say, because everybody's changed their trucks to a very high level, spent a great deal of money, time, and effort, and they're going to come out with kind of like murder on their mind.
Here we go. He's the reigning champ in the sport, the Sundance Kid, and Ray Carpenter from Bettendorf, Iowa.
Scott, there is a factor here that is an equalizing factor. The weather conditions are terrible for pulling. You go back to the cleated tire, you can see him, he actually smoked the tire at the end of the pull. Carpenter lays down a shot, everybody's going to be looking at it, but Mother Nature might be holding the Trump hand here.
Well, once again, as you mentioned, Army, he did change from that slick we saw earlier to the cleated tire for this pull, and you get a look at him right here, the distance, 258 feet, 1 inch, so that will be the distance to beat, and it's laid down by Carpenter. Army Armstrong's over to talk with the defending national champion.
Well, Ray, you guys came a long way to play in the mud and bring your 2,000 horsepower vehicle with you.
Well, this is for sure. Well, they're not giving us any breaks on the weather. It's just that time of crazy year, you know, and track's pretty greasy, and I think we missed the weight just a little bit, but there's better days ahead. We know they're gunning for us.
The first to draw his 6-shooter and take a shot will be Jim Lyon, Stitches, out of Louisville, Kentucky.
Something that's kind of interesting here. We're talking about the weather conditions, and they're pulling a weighted object. You think, well, the slipperier the track, the more problem you have. That is the case for about 6 inches, but you got to remember, you brought it out a minute ago, these tires have cleats on them. These cleats dig through the mud or the slippery surface down into good biting clay, and the sled itself is on the slicky part. So if you use your head right, like Jim Lyons, look at this. He's got the flags blowing in the breeze. Lyons working Stitches, and they're hanging weight on the backhoe. You know, you would think that this would be a bad setup. These guys are coming out. Look, he's banging it. He's close, Scott.
Just barely short. Jim Lyons, less than 2 feet short of the lead distance. So Sundance Kid dodges a big bullet. The GMC looked good. Not quite good enough. That's the pull of Jim Lyons and Stitches. Now, next out, we're going to get a look at the Irish challenger, Dan Walsh, out of Linden Station, Wisconsin.
Now, Walter's all eyes on the hybrid engine, the Arius type engine, so horsepower will not be a problem again today. I would say horsepower-wise, everybody's equal. This is a driver's track.
Well, you can tell Walsh in the middle of a changeover on the truck with a new design. See all those green colors.
They're getting some ground. It's amazing how they got this track figured out. Trying to go on the other side of a 258.
Not there. He's well short, 246.9. So right now, Dan Walsh in the Irish Challenger will sit in the number 3 spot behind Sundance Kid and Stitches.
He's got one cylinder that's misfiring. You look at the left side of the engine, you can see it popping out every now and then. So he made that run basically on 7 engines, 7 cylinders, Scott.
Coming up now, the 1988 national champion, Mike Stowe, the Bad Dog Ford out of Warrenton, Georgia. Now, earlier, Mike was the test puller. He turned it down and has decided to come back. We'll see if it pays off for him as he's going to give it a run right here.
The first puller is the only puller that has that option. When he made the decision to come back, that tells me he thought the track would get better. You can see the first 3 or 4 feet is tough. Sledding, literally, he's got to go. If he's going to get it with the M30 hand cleaner Ford, he's got to go now, and he's not going to be there. The ground speed is just not there, Scott Douglas.
Sometimes you make a mistake in your call, and Mike did there. He's nowhere close to his original distance that he refused earlier. 233 and 10 inches is not going to be anywhere near a top 5 performance here today, and that's a bad way to start trying to win a national championship in terms of points. As we watch it again, it just never happened for Mike Stowe on this run. Army Armstrong's working his way over to the normally somewhat effervescent Mike Stowe. I doubt he's very happy.
Mikey, this came out and said bad move. What was the bad move?
I should have took my first run. I gambled on the track getting better, Army, and it just didn't get any better. It's getting harder to move out of the hole. I believe if I'd have kept my first pull, I'd either been second or third right now. But sometimes you have to take that gamble. This is a hard group to beat, and you have to take a gamble every now and then and try to take your best shot.
The dice came up snake eyes on the roll from Mike Stowe. Here's a guy who's not afraid to gamble, too. Wayne Roush. We'll be seeing him a little bit later when he brings out his yellow Model T here on TuffTrax. Back in Bowling Green, we're about ready to go to the quarterfinals. King Krunch will be going up against Bigfoot, the auto value special, taking on his arch rival. Chris Chapman was able to talk with Scott Stevens about the matchup, and the guy he wants to beat worse than anybody else, John Piant and Bigfoot.
Scott, it looks like it's going to be you coming back as the fast loser, and you're going to be pitted right against Bigfoot. How do you feel about that matchup?
Well, I'm not going to say much. Every time I say good, it always ends up knocking us in the face. But we're running a second quicker right now than he did in that last round. He's going to have lane choice, though, from his qualifying. So, you know, Paint probably didn't run that round as hard as he knew because the truck that he was racing wasn't that good. But, you know, we ran a quick round before, so we know we can run right with him. And that's what we need to do, just not let it intimidate me like it has the last couple of weeks. And, you know, I can't oversteer like I have been tonight.
Stevens sounds confident, but Chris discovers that Bigfoot 4 won't back down. What do you expect from a team from Missouri, the show-me state? Here's Chris with John Piant.
John, we just spoke with Scott Stevens, who you're going to be running as because he's coming back as the fast loser. He says that he's about a second faster and doesn't think he's going to have any problems with it.
Well, right off the bat, I was going to stick him in the bad lane of the two, so that's going to give me a little bit of advantage. And I think the Ford Bigfoot's running really well tonight. I don't think Scott will be able to keep up with us.
So is that's it? You're going to beat him?
It'd be hammered down, and if he's going to have to drive around me to get past me.
Truck's biggest names and finest racing machines are battling on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. Quarterfinal round action in Bowling Green will pit King Kong against Nightlife. That's Ford against Chevy. We'll watch for that one. Coming back as the second fastest loser, Wild Hair, but he has to go up against Carolina Crusher again. Bigfoot earlier dispatched Mopar Magic. He takes on the confident auto value King Krunch. And then to round out the quarterfinal round, it is John Moore's No Problem Ford against the defending world champion, Greg Holbrook, and the Equalizer Chevrolet.
Got one thing you're going to see here that I find very interesting. I want you to notice King Kong. I told you how confident Steve Cain is in this truck. It's the first monster truck he ever drove. One of the reasons is look at the stability of the truck when he runs. On a good run, the truck stays very level, very straight, and it looks like it handles well. Meanwhile, West Oregon not rolling over a bit. He's going after him. West Oregon coming down into the wall, comes out. Kong takes the win. He's got some problems, though, Scott.
Trying to get it stopped.
Cameraman.
Look out. Steve Cain has added a whole bunch to the end of that run. Wow. Man, oh, man. Let's watch him again. Cain hitting the second set and launches it.
Something coming out of the right side of the... Okay, a drive shaft came out, Scott.
Boy, you saw it right there. Great camera shot. Showed you the story as the drive shaft came busting loose from King Kong. I bet we really see it on this angle, Army.
Oh, you can also see a lot of liquid coming out of the engine. You should see the drive shaft come out right about... It's already out right there. When he first launched, that's when it came out right there when it landed.
You can actually see kind of a mini explosion, and then the shaft popped out. Chris Chapman has caught up with Steve Cain to talk about the problems for King Kong.
Steve, you and King Kong were running fantastic, and then the fate of bad luck struck.
Yeah, I threw both my drive shafts out. Come up and hit the bottom of the transmission pan, but other than that, I can get the rear drive shaft back in, you know, but I can't make it fast enough, you know, get back out there and run again.
How in the world are you running so strong? I've never seen a truck run that good.
Well, I just go out there and, you know, when the accelerator hits the floor, you hear this clunk, and that's where I hear it. You know, when I hear that clunk, I know that's the fastest truck will go, you know. If I feel if the drive shafts hadn't broke, everybody out here would have been seeing the back end of King Kong tonight.
It may be an old truck, but it still goes clunk. And this time it went crunch on the Crunch of the Week.
Hold on to your seats for the amazing Crunch of the Week, brought to you by Micro Machines, the #1 colossally collectible vehicles in the world. If it doesn't say Micro Machines, it's not the real thing.
Army, we're going to look at King Kong one more time on the Crunch of the Week. And as you mentioned, already problem before he even goes in the air. Now watch for a little explosion. There it is. Okay, and boom, there they come out.
That was the explosion was the drive shaft hitting the safety loop. The one explosion. Now he's got his hands full right here. He's in a broad slide. He's flat tracking it right now, trying to keep that truck upright. No brakes. He's got to ride this puppy out. That's some heads-up driving, Scott.
Nice piece of steering, and that's all he had left on the Crunch of the Week. Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher against the wild Hair-Marvin Smith. Is there an overconfidence problem here? Crusher beat him earlier, knows he should have the better truck. Does he have to be worried about not giving it enough, Army?
Gary Porter is he's not even, it's like being by yourself. He doesn't worry about the other truck. He drives his race. I think he's going to be the man to beat again. He's too consistent. Marvin Smith, a whole lot of new horsepower. You can see Smith running with him for half a track, but consistency comes out, and you can hear it. In the first interview, he said he was out of gear. On that run, he had to back pedal in midair, or he was going to overwind the engine, Scott.
We'll look at it again, and friends, this is not a replay of their first matchup, but it looks like the exact same race on the second set. Crusher, with all the extra momentum, takes a fairly easy victory over Marvin Smith and the Wild Hair. Well, we talk about the consistency of the Carolina Crusher and the way Gary Porter is able to keep this old truck running so strong against so many newer models. Another older truck that wants to knock off one of the newer models. That's what's coming up in our next matchup. The Auto Value King Crunch computerized state-of-the-art truck against Bigfoot 4, the old reliable standby, sponsored with that acclaimed sponsorship out of Bob Chandler's stable in St. Louis, Missouri. Big matchup, a lot of war words between these two. Now they settle something on the track.
Little summertime blues and the GMC. How about it? Scott Stevens gets revenge. Piant had to have some kind of a problem with that truck.
Stevens said he had him covered. He told you earlier he would beat Bigfoot, and he beat him convincingly on this run in the quarterfinal round. And Army, over that second set, Scott Stevens just put Bigfoot away.
He just literally, the acceleration is what took the win for him, but Piant seemed to have some kind of problem. He was not gassing that good in the second half. Yeah, he broke something. He goes out underneath the hook.
You're absolutely right. Bigfoot is out of it. The Auto Value King Crunch is moving into the semifinals. Coming up next, we go back to Fishersville, Virginia. The TNT All-American Pulling Series. Ken Lamont's Midnight Express eyeing the Sundance Kid. TuffTrax taking you back to the Augusta Expo land where Sundance Kid and Ray Carpenter holds the lead over Jim Lyons and Stitches and Dan Walsh's Irish Challenger in TNT All-American Pulling Series action. The two-wheel drive truck first point pull of the summer of 1990. Mike Speller on the start line getting them ready to go as we get a look at Sudden Thunder. Sudden Thunder is driven by Brian Reed. He's out of Manchester, Connecticut.
You know, Scott, I was noticing something when the graphics came up on the top three. There's 12 feet between first and third. That's almost unheard of. Either you got this track figured out, or it's got you buffalo. Let's see what's going to happen with Sudden Thunder. A lot of weight on the back of the truck. That's going to hurt him, Scott. See, the front end goes up and lowers the hitch angle. That sled hammered him hard.
He ended up close, but not quite enough. It's 254 and 5 inches. This track being read in feet and inches. 254 feet, 5 inches. So Sudden Thunder jumps in to that top three.
Okay, let's look at the top three now. It was 12 feet spread a moment ago. Now it's only down to 8 feet.
Sudden Thunder's run once again. He had it going and just came up 4 feet short on him. Simple as that. Our next puller will be the Plano Toolbox's Midnight Express. Kenny Lamont, one of the best-known names in the sport out of Crossville, Illinois. And Lamont wants to get 1990 started off with a big bang. Let's see if he can get it past the Sundance Kid.
Kenny Lamont hooked up with Plano again for 1990. He's doing a lot of work with the people promoting their product. He is a promoter's dream come true, but right now he's a competitor, and he's going to try to go to the head of the field. They're tightening up on top of this thing. Is the track coming back? Lamont may tell us something by this run.
He was the runner-up in the championship points a year ago to Ray Carpenter and Sundance Kid. He wants to get started ahead of him, but he's got to beat Carpenter's 258.
Ground speed's coming back to front end. I'm amazed at how the front end keeps lifting on a slippery track.
Little short, and it might land him in the top 5, 251.2. He'll have trouble holding on to a top 5 spot as he's about 7 feet short of that run. Looking at it again, Lamont not up to snuff in terms of running Sundance Kid down this time around. Army Armstrong has worked his way over to talk with Kenny Lamont of the Midnight Express.
Kenny, you take the Plano Toolbox especially on the late in the field on a track that everybody's having problems with, and you pull into the number 4 spot on the run that actually looked good.
Yeah, I was tickled to death with the run. Track's getting worse. You can look at Mike Stowe's distance. You know, he ran early and dropped. Track's really getting worse. I think it's because we followed the pro stockers. They've got bigger lugs than we do, and normally it gets better following the pro stockers, but this track's so greasy, every time that sled goes across, it just makes it slicker. That's just luck of the draw. Hey, track like that, I'm tickled death for. I tell you the truth, I am.
Hey, Scott, what he was talking about, he said lug. That's the part of the tire that actually digs into the surface. You and I in an everyday would call it a tread. In this sport, they call it a lug.
The question is whether he'll be able to hold on to a top 4 spot, because I know of a couple of the biggest dogs in the sport that are going to come hunting right now, and one of them is getting started at the line. It's the Golden Thunder of John Heilman out of Rockford, Ohio.
Yeah, but look who's sitting at the back of the field. He's been watching all day long. You can see him in the backdrop. Wayne Rouse waits in the wings. Rouse is watching everybody. Will make the final decision right before he goes to the sled. Let's go back and see what Heilman does.
So we've got 2 to look at, and they are 2 of the best around today. The distance to beat, Ray Carpenter and the Sundance Kid, 258.1. Again, Army, important to point out, that is the first official pull of the day. Carpenter, and it's holding up.
It's holding up, but they keep taking shots at it. We got a silver going away on the far side of Heilman. That's going to hurt the weight. Not that right trying to go to the other side of 258. Not going to be there, Scott.
So the situation for John Heilman is he's now in the top 5 as he bumps out Lamont into the number 5 spot, but he certainly didn't get up where he wanted to. And again, you can see right there what Army was mentioning in terms of the cylinder going away on it.
Okay, Scott Douglas, we got a unique situation here. Did Wayne Rouse do his homework? He pulled last in the field. He's had all afternoon long to watch these guys. Everybody that follows the sport knows the story. He's a college professor. Did he do his homework? We're going to find out right now.
And his homework enough, you know, sometimes the conditions, you just can't get around them. And apparently some of the other pullers seem to think that there's nothing you can do. The track's going away, and maybe Rouse doesn't have a shot. No. We'll find out right here.
Wayne was working on that vehicle until they hooked it to the sled. He's moving weight around. Let's see the front. Okay, the front is wide open now. You look right down the end. Rouse is going after him, son. Rouse is going after him.
He's got it. He has gone past the 258 mark, the official distance, 264 feet, 3 inches. Wayne Rouse and the yellow Model T, the final puller of the day, comes away with the victory, knocking off the defending national champion in the first points pull for the 2-wheel drives in 1990. Beautiful run for Wayne Rouse.
Watch the engine come wide open right now. You can look right down the throat of the injectors. Wayne Rouse, flat lettered today.
A former national champion, and he wants nothing better than to have his name back on the big trophy again. A great start to 1990. Army's going to go see Wayne Rouse.
Wayne Rouse, the 2-truck concept, I believe, worked to your advantage today. You got to know something about this track those other guys didn't.
I think really I was a little more patient coming out of the hole, and that may have come just from watching the other truck as much as what I learned with the red truck.
The track will hold the horsepower once you get out past the 100-foot mark, but boy, that first 25 or 50 feet looks to really be rough.
You got to be so careful, because if you put all the weight on the back to get a good launch, then it's going to sky on you. The front end's going to sky, and it's going to lose. If you put too much weight on the front, it's not going to get out of the hole. It's a compromise.
Here's the way they finish. Wayne Rouse wins at Ray Carpenter, 2nd, Jim Lyons 3rd, 4th to Brian Reed, and the 5th spot to John Heilman. And for right now, that's the way they stand in the national points for 1990. Bowling Green, Ohio, in the Wood County Fairgrounds. With the threatening skies overhead, we've made it into the semifinals, so hopefully we're going to get it all in without a rainstorm coming down. The Final Four begins. The first semifinal matchup will send a couple of Chevrolets to battle. Nightlife and Carolina Crusher, as they will hook up. The winner goes to the Monster Stand.
Got the old clouds you were just talking about. These black clouds have been following some of these monster truck guys all over the country. However, these two fellas have seemed to fare awfully well so far this year. White Thorpe with a new truck, he's doing all right. And Carolina Crusher, what can you say about Mr. Consistency here? Side-by-side half track, Benny Clyde. Crusher, all right.
He's getting so strong hitting that second set. He just seems to have a world of momentum built up at the end of the first set of cars, and watch him just take off on the run between the two sets of cars, and when he goes up the ramp, it is a perfect launch.
Well, Scott, really, all you can say about this guy tonight, he is just smooth. He's like a clock. You know exactly what he's going to do time after time after time out of the same lane. He's like he's on a rail.
Gary Porter, last week's winner, trying to make it 2 in a row in TNT competition. Army Armstrong caught up with Gary Porter, the winner in the Carolina Crusher Chevrolet.
We started this thing talking about all the controversy over the new trucks in 1990. You're running one of the oldest trucks in the circuit and going into the final, Gary.
No, Army, that's what I was just thinking about. Do I need to build a new truck? You know, this truck is working, you know, it's working this track right here, you know, perfect. You know, I'm lining up a little bit on the left side of the cars at a little angle, and, you know, I'm bouncing over to the left a little bit, but, you know, it seems to be lining me up just perfect for the second set of cars.
You know, when you go to the bank to deposit that winning check, they don't ask you if it's a new truck or an old check. They just want to make an old truck. They just want to make sure the check's good, right?
That's right. The truck is really working this course good for me, and you know, I'm really pleased with it, except I wish I had just a little bit higher gear ratio in it. I'm turning the motor a little bit too high.
He's made it to the Monster Smash final. He won a week ago. Can he make it 2 in a row? We'll find out a little later when Crusher takes on one of these next 2 trucks that we're going to look at here, the Equalizer and the Auto Value King Crunch.
God, that was interesting. That's the second time he's mentioned that he's not geared right, but he's going to the final. I wonder how far off he is.
Not geared right statement kind of surprises me too, because he looks like he is getting into that last gear. He has so much when he hits that second set of cars. We'll find out, because he's got to run one of these 2 bad dogs a little bit later, and that'll be a supreme test in the Monster Smash. But which one will it be? Equalizer or Crunch? Here they come.
Half track, both of them looking good side by. Oh, we got problems on the right side. Stevens is in trouble trying to get shut out. Equalizer looks like he's going to the final again.
Give the victory to Greg Holbrook's Equalizer Chevrolet. Officially, it's a disqualification for Scott Stevens in the Auto Value King Crunch, because he did not get both wheels up that second obstacle, the second ramp for the car.
Replay coming up. Stevens lined up just like the Carolina Crusher, but the handling characteristics of those trucks are so different, it completely threw Stevens out of the ballpark, where it threw the Carolina Crusher right on course.
Isolated replay on the defending world champion, Greg Holbrook's Equalizer. You see, basically comes fairly straight off the first set, hits the second set of cars nicely, has a nice smooth run and a victory.
Greg Holbrook, you and the Carolina Crusher in the final. Last time you guys paired up, he nailed you. What's going to happen tonight?
Last time Army had lost is my fault. I believe this time on this track, our truck, it can't be beat.
He's talking about gearing. He says he's running at his maximum gearing. Have you pulled everything out of this truck you can tonight?
No, I hadn't yet. I haven't been turning about 6,500 RPMs all night long.
You're going to be in the winner's circle?
I sure hope so. I'm going to give it all I got.
Boy, it's very subdued confidence. He really believes that he can't be beat tonight. We'll find out a little later. Now, again, the truck that was disqualified is closest to you, the Auto Value King Crunch. Scott Stevens, as he came to the second set of cars, did not get both front wheels up the ramp and onto the first obstacle. That's an automatic disqualification. Chris Chapman is over with Scott Stevens to ask him about the problems on that run.
Scott, before you were disqualified, it looked like you had him.
Yeah, the truck was running real good, and you know, our suspension unloaded a little on me, and I got back in the gas a little too hard at the wrong time. It just kind of steered itself off the track. But hey, you know, the Auto Value King Crunch truck's still together, and we're happy about that. We ran some good times, and you know, we'll just put our stuff together for next week and you know, put it all together.
We'll be right back with Carolina Crusher and Equalizer. It's the Monster Smash on TuffTrax. Have a shot at the championship here in Bowling Green, Ohio, at the Wood County Fairgrounds. It's Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher taking on Greg Holbrook and the Equalizer Chevrolet. The renewal of the battle for the 1989 World Championship, where Equalizer narrowly won the title over Crusher. Gary Porter wants a little more revenge today. It's time for the Monster Smash.
Be a battle of the old pro with the old truck, closer to the camera, going against the kid.
back in victory lane once again with a victory over Gary Porter and the Carolina Crusher. Crusher denied, winning 2 in a row by the kid from Tennessee.
Now, both of these trucks were exactly where they wanted to be. Each truck was running the lane he was happy in. No excuses. That was just good old monster truck racing.
Well, we talked about Gary Porter not getting the kind of top end he wanted. Maybe that was what we saw there, because Equalizer kind of made it look easy over the last set as he got the victory. Army Armstrong is going to get a chance to talk with both drivers, Greg Holbrook and Gary Porter.
Well, the finals went down in Bowling Green. Reverse the tables from the last time these two trucks met. This kid's definitely learning, isn't he, Gary?
He is. He's learning real fast. You know, he has an excellent truck. You know, Gary Cook built him to drive, and he's doing an excellent job driving. You know, I felt like I made a real good pass that run. I got a little too low a gear in my truck tonight, but I'll gear it up for tomorrow night. You know, we'll be back strong.
Well, nothing to be ashamed of. As usual, you did a great job. Let me bump over and talk to this kid. Hey, you're making a name for yourself. You're like a gunfighter of years ago. You're starting to knock off all these big guys, and they're going to be coming back after you hot and heavy now.
Yeah, I've had a lot of good luck. Gary's got the truck set up good. All I had to do was drive the truck. He'd already proven the truck would work.
You keep saying all you have to do is drive the truck, but, not everybody can do that. There's got to be a talent to driving this truck.
You just have to watch the cars. It's just like any other kind of sport. You got to be able to read the track and know what your truck will do every time.
You got to stay out on Bigfoot in the points chase. Tonight was something you had to do.
Yeah, we need to get as far as we can before they bring 8 back out, and he's going to be real tough.
Indeed, Bigfoot 8 looms ahead for the Equalizer. But right now, Equalizer has opened it up to a 30-point lead over Bigfoot. Again, the points being accumulated by Bigfoot 4 count along with the Bigfoot 8 point. Krunch is third, Crusher fourth. Those two trucks still very much in contention for the world title. Awesome Kong rounding out the top 5. USA 1 still sitting in that number 6 spot. More bad luck for the Gravedigger. Look, Nightlife is about to move past the Gravedigger. Outlaw is 9th, and Buffalo Tremor rounding out the top 10. So Bowling Green, at least in this first week on TuffTrax, belongs to Greg Holbrook and the Equalizer Chevrolet. Army, we're going to take another look at the isolated replay for Greg Holbrook's Equalizer.
Well, this kid, when he makes a run, I want you to notice the driver. You got a good camera angle. Watch how he gets tossed around up in that truck. You got to be a good athlete to be able to sustain the abuse these fellas take. Like a 30-mile-an-hour head-on collision, that's whatever landing's like. But more important than that, he's got a 30-point lead going into next week's competition, Scott.
And he's looking strong. He will be the truck to beat. But there are plenty who are going to take a shot at him next week here on TuffTrax. We'll be coming back at you once again from the hallowed grounds in terms of tractor pulling, made ready for monster truck racing, the Wood County Fairgrounds in Bowling Green, Ohio. Equalizer gets it done. For Army and Chris, I'm Scott Douglas. See you next week on TuffTrax.